Thank you for stopping by Masks Off, uncovering the latest topics that you need to know about, from business, human trafficking, teen-related issues, mental health and wellness, and everything in between. Stay tuned for your host, Toseika Thomas, keeping it real, honest, and relatable. Welcome to Masks Off, where we discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hello, and welcome to Mask Off. We are here with Marschelle, and we're going to talk about the importance of savings. So, Marschelle, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. How are you? I'm Marschelle Weeks. I'm here in Georgia. I guess you could say my tag, my clubhouse name, and what has become a name I'm known by now is Coach Money Mars. Enjoy financial literacy. I'm married, 2 kids, and we're just here in Georgia living life from day to day. And I am here to help with finances.
I love it. Okay, so we are living in a time where savings is important. And you'll hear people talk about savings and savings and savings. And you'll hear that it's important, but no one explains to us why it's so important. So can you just give us a reason, explain to people who don't understand? People know that they need to save. A lot of people save just because somebody told them to save, but they don't really understand why should we save?
Why? Exactly right. We should be setting aside money in case of emergencies, in case of events that we have no control over, like right now. We also should be saving for our future self. And I know that sounds like a cliche. We always hear, oh, your future self will love you, but he or she will love you if you save now. Right now, while we are able-bodied, in our right minds, working every day, we work hard. We have to reward ourselves with keeping some for us, because we are paying for the kids. We are paying the bills. We have to eat. We have to put gas in the car to get to work. We work all those hours, and then, literally, we're just sending it out in all these different directions. And then it's like, well, what about us? Like, I'm going to live a long time, and I need to be putting some over to the side. So very important reasons to set money aside.
All right, and I'm glad you said emergencies. So you said it's important for us to have emergency funds, but how much should we prepare, like a percentage? And when should we start? Like, kind of guide us into the emergency funds.
So now, I've been in the back of my mind, I've been thinking about like a teenager, right, who starts working their first job. So the going rate, tell me this, Toseika, in Texas, has your minimum wage increased in Texas?
Okay. Still about maybe $8.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Because different states do different things. And even here in Georgia, I'm unsure, honestly, if it's across the board. But I do see now some of the fast food places, they're fighting for people to hire. There's a shortage. And so I see some people are paying $14 an hour. Some are paying $15. So there's like a little, I guess, undercover war going on to attract people to work for the businesses. I would say when you're first starting out working, you're not making a lot of money. You really aren't making a lot. And especially if the 16-year-old's in school. So the only time they're really going to be able to bring in a lot is in the summer because they're not in school. So I would say if you are fortunate enough to live in your parents' home and they're paying all the bills, you want to put away as much as possible. As much as possible. If they're buying all the food and you're only like responsible for gas and additional things you want, going out and that sort of thing, as much as possible. If you're able to budget out, and again, this is going to depend on how much you're bringing in, but if you can do like a little budget and literally nothing fancy, literally writing down at the top of your page a number, whatever that figure is, and just deducting your expenses. cell phone, gas, how much you need for the week. What's left over, if you can, put the majority of that away. You may want to keep some money in your pocket for, you just never know the type of expenses. So that is what I would say to the teenager who's just starting to work. Your emergencies are going to be taken care of by your parents, most likely, or your guardian, grandma, the adult.
Right.
Now, for us who have the kids
Right.
and the homes and the cars that can break down, we need to quickly, I would even say this, if you can afford to put $100 aside per paycheck, I would start by doing that. Most emergencies are probably about $1,000 or less. An example, our hot water heater broke or flooded, or it just stopped working. And this was during the pandemic, the greatest time for these things to happen, right? And so because we had insurance, I think we had to pay, like a deductible or something like that. Even if you only had $700 set to the side, it would probably cover a deductible to get something like that fixed, right? Because that affects your water.
Right.
So I would say you want to put aside each pay period. Now, some people may be able to do more than $100. Some people, that's all they can do, or maybe it's only $50. The emergencies, that's something that can set in your savings account. But we'll talk about a different type of savings that will grow your money. But as far as emergencies, that money you want to be able to get to pretty quickly. So some people keep money in their home, don't advertise it, but for some emergencies, you may want to keep some money in the house. I have relatives who have the piggy banks, but they have a lot of quarters in there. So if it came down to it and that was it, they would be able to cash that out for, a good amount of money. So we should always have cash on us. It's very hard today because we're so used to that swipe or the Cash App, and it's so easy, but we should definitely have money on us, $100 if you can, but put away about $100 a pay period if you can. If $100 is too much, $50.
Okay, before we go into that formula, because I really want to hear this formula that you have, let's talk about another big issue or a big topic a lot of people don't think about, and that is saving for retirement. Now, I started saving for retirement when I was about 20 with my first job, but I had people kind of coaching me to think early about retirement. But when is the appropriate time that we should really start thinking about retiring?
That's a good question, because I was in the same boat. They talked about it, but I did not get serious until I would say maybe the second job, big girl job, I'll call it, out of school,
Right.
Because I think the first job you get, you're just excited to get a paycheck.
Right.
And you're just feeling your way around in this adult world. And so, you're paying for your nails and going out with friends and going out to eat,
Right.
And I didn't save a lot in the beginning. However, when I got the second job, 401k became a big thing.
Right.
And, I started asking questions because, you hear things, but you
Right.
don't understand how it
Right.
works. When I look back over, those times, first starting to work, I should have maxed out from the beginning.
Right.
It's not like I was used to getting paid that amount of money, whatever it was back then, right? Because whatever it was back then definitely would not be able to survive today. So we have to understand that part. However, when your expenses are low, that is when you should be saving out of control. You should be saving so much. People are like, dag, you're not even gonna, buy a muffin. Like, you're just tight because your expenses are low. But once you get out there and you start collecting bills, it makes it more difficult. So if I could go back in time and tell my 21, 22-year-old self, I would tell her, max out your 401k because they're matching. I would say find out if your employer is matching, because you're leaving free money on the table. Yeah. Don't start with the minimum, max it out, because you don't have any expenses. Right. And that is going to play a part in the retirement. The earlier we start in investing our money, first of all, it becomes a routine. It becomes habit. Right. The money's being taken out of the check anyway, so we don't feel it. Right. And it is so important to establish that early on, because when you aren't used to it, it doesn't feel like you're doing something for yourself. That's self-care, investing your money.
I like that.
But when we're,
right.
Okay. So did I answer your question?
Yeah.
You did? Okay, I was just making sure. But yes, definitely, the younger you are, go on and max it out. And again, especially if you get to stay in your parents' home, that is just like helping you to move so far ahead. Tusky, I don't know if when you were in school, were you like, oh man, I cannot wait to get out of my parents' home?
That was me.
Me too. And when I look back, look, some parents are cringing. I'm like, stay. Take advantage.
Take it. Save, baby, save.
Goodness, because it'll make a difference. It become a part of you. So, you're not like 35 years old or something like that.
Right.
And now you're having to recalibrate, everything you're thinking to save when we should have been doing. So it's like, when we increase our 401k contribution, we are decreasing the tax that'll be taken out, because they tax us based on the amount of money. So that even helps in the tax burden. But again, here's the deal: if we have a lot of expenses, it may hurt a little bit to invest more, because we need to see that in that direct deposit to pay the bills.
That's true. So, because I want to do the formula next, but give us, for the adults who have not been thinking about retirement, or they're 35 or 40 and like, oh, wait, 65 to be here before I know it. What are some tips to help them kind of catch up real quick?
Well, first I would say, leverage your job. So I would ask, or, find out who your company uses, because the company may be paying a certain amount, you pay a certain amount. I would go on, and don't be afraid to use those different calculators. So for example, a big one that the different jobs I've had, they always use Fidelity or T. Rowe Price. Those are two popular ones. They have made it so it's you can do it step by step. Go in and play around with those calculators to find out, if I contribute 7%, how much of that, how much is that goes in the savings? How much is my company matching? So I would go and do that first, so you can play around, so you can see for it. Because unless you do that, you're kind of guessing and, I'm going to do 6%. But what does that really mean to you? What is your paycheck or direct deposit going to look like if you do 6%? So first, I would say play around with those numbers and use the tools on the site, because they're there and they're very easy to use. The other thing I would say, as far as the amount of money that you want to save, you're going to have to create a budget, because the budget is the map. Knowing what's leaving your house as far as the money, that is going to help you determine how much you actually can save. Right. That takes a little bit of time. You don't have to be fancy. I'm going to tell you, I don't mind Excel. I don't mind the different apps, but it is nothing wrong with a piece of notebook paper and a pen.
Love it.
You don't have to get all fancy. Write your net income at the top, and just you look at what you're paying out: utilities, car payment if you have one, insurance. Deduct it all. Right. What do you have left? Right. It requires discipline, because see, a lot of times when we get to that bottom number, we're shocked, like, oh, I have this at the end of the month, not here, Right. And so then at that point, you want to maybe half it. Right. You want to, well, let me say this. I was always taught 10%. Pay yourself 10%.
Right.
However, that depends on whatever that bottom number is. 10% may be too much for you. So start out with 5.
Right.
Pretty much that budget is going to tell the story of what's going on now. And then I always say we're going to believe God for increase and promotion so we can get some more, so we invest more. But that budget, unless we do that, we're taking a stab in the dark.
Right.
You could be investing more. What you're going to want to do after we figure out what that bottom number is, what we have left over, we want to pay ourselves, because remember, some of that money could be the emergency fund that's readily available.
Right.
Okay. You shouldn't have a debit card, or if you do, you need to put it away. Do not put it in your purse or wallet, because you know how we do. What we do. We're all guilty of. I'm just gonna use this little $30, and before you know it, you have $30 that account to death. Right? Exactly. We've all been there. Yeah. We've all been there.
Yes.
So look, no shame, right? So it's like, put that away. Then the money that you're actually wanting to invest, that you should never see that. So that is you getting with someone who can set that up for you. In some instances, you only need to start with $25.
Awesome. Okay. Now take us into I want to come back to the budget after it, but I want you to take us into the formula.
So now there are several different formulas out there that I have seen online. And I'm going to be honest to say that I don't really necessarily believe in any of them down to the T, only because if someone is telling me I should be investing like 20% of this or 20% of that, that only depends on how much money I'm making.
Right.
So for me to tell someone you should be putting aside this, but not if they don't make a certain amount of money. So what I would say is this, and what I would say is this, and I told you, Tusky, I like to write, even though no one can see what I'm writing, but it kind of helps me to stay on task. So let's just say that I have $1,000 and that I've brought home after my taxes, and let's just say $700, and these are not realistic numbers in 2022, but I'm just trying to keep it easy. Let's say that $700 of this is expenses. This is more like 1980s prices, right?
Yeah.
But this is just, again, for sake of example. Let's say I have $300 left at the end of the month. 10% of $300 is like 30.
Right.
I would put that in my second checking account or savings account. Something, again, that my debit card is in the file cabinet. It's not in my my wallet or my purse. Okay. So that's that 10%. Now I may say, I want to give 10% to the organization that I'm a member of. So I would take that 10% of 1,000, and that would be like $100, right? So now we're at $200. That $200, because the investing for retirement, that's come out already. Okay. We don't bring that home. That's already gone. So the 1,000's let's just say this $1,000 I'm talking about, medical has been paid, all of that, those, what do they call those? The pre-tax deductions have already come out.
Okay.
So now I have now I have, let me do that, $300 minus the 30, that's $270. And then I want to give, so that's $100. Now, this person that we're talking about, prayerfully, they don't have any other expenses, because this is not a lot, right? Let's just say that this is biweekly. That's better. This is not for the month, because this is poverty that I'm looking at. So let's just say this is biweekly, and you have $170 left, because it's real. Sometimes we don't have a lot left. Right. So with this 170, if we're already paid into the 401k, we've given, we've put $30 to the side because that's all we can do right now. This $170, what I would do is I may take $50 or $60 from my allowance.
Okay.
Put that in my purse.
Okay.
Okay. I may, and now we're down to $110. The next thing I would do is I would think of, okay, I need gas to get to work.
Right.
Our gas prices, they've come down a little bit. They're not as crazy as they were a few months ago. So depending on how far away, here's another something else to ponder. Can I get to work by public transportation, or do I really need to drive my car?
Okay.
That's something to think about. So let's take, and you can tell that these are not formulas because I'm going based on how much money we have, because it doesn't matter what that formula is if we're not making enough. And I think that is where a lot of people get intimidated, because it's like, well, I don't make $75,000 a year. So if I go by what this person is saying out there on the internet world about, because I've seen those different formulas, but it doesn't work for everyone. So I if like to give like a practical, what do you do when you only have this amount of money at the end? So we're at 100 and where are we, 170. We want to take some money for our allowance. We want to take some money for gas. We want to set that aside.
Okay.
The other, in my opinion, you count for unexpected expenses to have your bank account like at complete zero. Because what if something comes in that you did not think about and now you have a negative balance? Now you're having to pay. So keep some money in your account, but take out, if $60 is reasonable for you for your allowance, meaning that is going to be your play money. Again, it depends on what your level of play is. Your play may be brunch on Sunday. By doing this budget, this is what we're planning for until we get paid again for the next 2 weeks. Leave some money in your account to kind of float you in case some expense comes through automatic deduction, so you don't have a negative balance. But this is where our discipline comes into play, because if we've already taken out some money, some play money, then we're not swiping every other day. We're not going to lunch every day. A part of, while we're waiting on our increase in promotion, a part of thinking about our retirement, thinking about emergency funds, depends on us not eating up the money. And so let's say we're comfortable knowing, okay, I have $110 sitting in my account. I've done everything. You may want to look at maybe I need to go back and increase that 401k deduction, because I'm cool with this sitting in my account for the next 2 weeks. If this is your life, like I'm eating at home, and I didn't go into all that detail taking money out for groceries, because I hope it's understood that how the budget is defining what you have going on. If you see that you have taken care of everything, you have your play money in your pocket, you've put $30 away in your savings, and you have a couple $100 in the account, you may be able to go back and increase your 401k deductions. You may say, I can put more than 10% away in my savings account. I think more important than the formula is, and I'm huge on that, is that budget. Because I think the budget comes first before the formula. And then there are also other things that come into play, like how much debt do you have? How many minimums are coming out of your account every month? Because that $110 or whatever our whatever we have left over after everything's taken care of, we may need to take half of that and start paying off on something, the lowest bill, because the less debt we have, we can increase how much we're putting in our emergency fund, and we can increase the investment for retirement. Does that make sense? Because I'm not going to tell someone you should be putting 30% of your money in savings when you have $25,000 in debt. We need to take a now, and this is a thing too, and I hope I'm not like taking over the conversation. It's okay. So the other thing too we have to think about is this. Even though we're getting out of debt, we still should be investing. So my deal is, and even personally, never should you stop investing.
Right.
Because again, I don't care if it's $20, $25, right. Put it aside. Money is going to grow. It's going to grow. But if you don't put anything there, it's nothing to grow. Like, so.
And I have one last question before we.
Oh, sure.
Okay. So you just, and it was perfect because you were talking about investments. So we have this 110 left and we don't want to be broke forever. So we're thinking about investing. Like, okay, we have all these different apps and different, shares and stocks. How do we move forward with just a little money to kind of get started in investment and stocks?
Okay. So job aside, now for my disclaimer is I am not licensed. Okay. So what I do for myself personally, I'm speaking from that.
Okay.
I have mutual funds that my broker has set up for me. I also take advantage of the apps, and I'm looking at my phone so I can tell you, like Stash. I have an E-Trade account that I started way long time ago when Capital One was ING and they were partnered. E-Trade used to be something else, but anyway, I have this. Stash to me is for the beginner.
Okay.
Stash is easy to use. They'll walk you through. They have like little mini classes on here. They offer you the opportunity to buy, 10 cent, 15 cent in stocks. They'll send you a text.
Right.
I love this. I love Stash. Personally, because this is kind of my area, not stocks, but just financial things in general. When the stock split, when Google did the stock split, I kept on top of that because it's like I wanted to get some because that stock was $2,000 and some odd dollars.
Goodness.
So when they split, I was like, oh, I don't care what I have to do. If I don't out for a week, I'm getting that because this is the way to get in, right? I definitely would say you need to find someone who's licensed, okay? But you can do the Stash. This is for me, the regular everyday person. You can definitely do this. But when we're talking about major financial decisions for your future, you want to sit down with someone who can examine what you have going on and help you choose, because there are mutual funds out there that I know of personally that I'm invested in that are growing. And it's just a great thing, me knowing that is there. So that is something that I could provide offline with whoever was interested in that and get them squared away that way.
Awesome. So before we go, tell us about your show or anything you want to promote.
Oh, sure. So I do have a monthly podcast. It's called Money Things from Mars, and I talk about all things financial. Again, big on financial literacy. I wish I had known more because I probably would have made less mistakes as a younger person in my 20s, not really understanding money. So we talk about current events having to do with money, and we talk about what we've just talked about, just your everyday things that we run into. To me, it's very important that we understand why we should do this or that and be comfortable with it. Because if it's explained in a way that one understands, you're more likely to do it. And so I just would love to be the person that people can say, I need to find out about this. I'm going to go listen to her because she's going to explain it in a way that's so practical. It's like, got it. Now let me go improve my financial life.
I love it. And I enjoyed you today, seriously. And I'm all about education, and money is something that everyone needs to be educated on. So hopefully we can have you back sometime soon just to educate us some more.
Sure, I love that. I always enjoy speaking with you, and I'm glad that you asked me on your show.
Thank you. And thank you to all the viewers for joining us at Mask Off. We hope you have a wonderful day.